Let's turn now to the House. We're joined by Democratic Representative Chris Van Hollen of Maryland and Republican Representative Raul Labrador of Idaho. So you just heard it from your Senate counterparts. They appear to be close to a deal, a mini deal. Will it fly in the House?
Well, the House is a real problem because, as we know, Speaker Boehner, the Republican Speaker in the House, was unable to get his members to support his own plan, which said that we should ask people earning more than $1 million a year to pay a little bit more. And so Speaker Boehner is going to have to decide that he's going to allow the House, finally, to vote on a deal, whatever may come out of the Senate, rather than play Republican caucus politics in that.
But I guess the question you can answer is the Democrats. The deal we're talking about now, which would not address the debt ceiling, which would extend tax cuts to whatever income level they agree to, and do a couple of other things like extend unemployment benefits, would Democrats en masse vote to support that in the House?
Well, John, I think you know, and we'll probably say the same thing on this, until we know exactly what the Senate's proposing, the senators couldn't tell us the details. It's impossible to know. It depends on the deal. All I know is that Democrats in the House are very determined to avoid going over the fiscal cliff, but we want to make sure that any agreement asks folks at the very high income levels to pay a little bit more to reduce our deficit, because if you don't ask them to pay a little bit more, everybody else gets hit that much harder.
So, you know, it's kind of funny to sit here and listen to Chris and saying that it's the Republicans in the House who are the problem. If you look at the budget that Chris proposed 2 years ago, which was the alternative to the Paul Ryan budget, it only asked for tax increases on people making over $1 million. There were only about 50 of us in the House who said that we were not going to vote for John Boehner's deal last week. All they needed was 50 Democrats to vote for the deal, and it would have passed last week. But no, he spent the entire day of the deal on the House floor attacking everything that John Boehner was going to do, when John Boehner actually tried to meet them halfway. And now he comes here on national TV and he says that it's the Republicans
Let's just do a
in the
little fact
House.
check. Let's do a fact check.
Go
First of all, Raul, you got to get your facts right. The budget that we brought, and we did have an alternative budget that got an overwhelming Democratic vote, did not say we're only going to raise taxes on people over $1 million. It actually supported the president's proposal. So you got to check your facts. What we're asking for in the House is the same thing that the Republicans got in the Senate, an up or down vote on their proposal.
Which would be raising taxes on those making over $250,000 a year.
Well, that's right. But John, what we're saying is you don't have to agree with us. Just allow a vote in the House. The Republicans got a vote in the Senate on their proposal.
But let me ask you, though, because Nancy Pelosi, your leader in the House, had proposed the $1 million threshold. Let's take a look at exactly what she said. Don't want to put words in anybody's mouth here. This is Nancy Pelosi from March of this year. From March of this year. Go ahead.
I said, let's begin by getting rid of tax cuts for people making over $1 million a year. I'm not even saying 250.
No.
The president's saying 250. I'm saying $1 million and above. Who can argue with that?
Buffett.
So who can argue with that?
Well, the question was whether
only the Democrats.
The issue is who could argue with over $1 million. And obviously in the House, the Republicans didn't even agree with their own speaker on $1 million. Look, the president, as we all know, as part of a larger agreement, has said 400,000 should be the threshold as part of a larger agreement. The issue is the balance between the cuts and the revenue. And what we've called for is balance. Republicans in the House have refused even 1 penny so far from people earning more than $1 million.
Which is your position. So let me ask you, as I recall, when Boehner proposed this $1 million and above, your answer was not just no, it was hell no.
Absolutely.
So given what they're talking about here is going to certainly raise taxes on people making less than $1 million, we don't know exactly where the threshold's going to be. Are you going to be hell no again?
If it raises taxes and it doesn't cut any spending, which is what they're proposing, I think I would be a no. But you have to look at what's happening. The president first proposed about a year and a half ago. He proposed $800 billion. And I love Washington math. He proposed increases in revenues of $800 billion. Then he goes to $1.2 billion. Now, after the elections, he's going to $1.6 billion. He goes back down to 1.2.
So, Raul's got to get his facts straight. The president's proposal that he presented
they're the facts.
well over a year ago.
If you read Bob Woodward's book, it was at $800 billion.
Look at the president's budget. Look at the president's proposal to Congress, September 2011. Just take a look. It's on the internet. $1.6 trillion in revenue.
Right, but he did propose it.
That's what he proposed, Raul.
And how many votes did that budget get?
Actually, it got an overwhelming support in the House, despite the talking point you guys used.
How many votes?
The Democratic budget was based on the Republicans' plan.
Okay.
Got an overwhelming Democratic vote.
It failed. The Republicans have failed as well. But I want to ask, Republicans seem to be incredibly divided on this issue of taxes. You wouldn't even support your leader. You wouldn't even support Speaker Boehner, a relatively modest increase of those making over $1 million. Charles Krauthammer said that this is, Republicans have basically completely divided on this. Here's what he said. President Obama's been using this, and I must say with great skill and ruthless skill and success to fracture and basically shatter the Republican opposition. His objective from the very beginning was to break the will of Republicans in the House and to create an internal civil war, and he has done that. Is that what we are seeing here? Is an internal civil war in the House?
And I agree with Charles. This has been what the Democrats wanted to do from day one. They have tried to divide the Republicans. They have tried to get us to fight against each other on taxes. When I'm not really sure that they don't want to go over the fiscal cliff. You're going to have Howard Dean here a little bit later. He agrees with many Democrats that what they need is actually more revenue. They want to expand the growth of government. Okay. They need more revenues. You know, Democrats are like bank robbers. You don't have the money in the 2%. The money is in the 100%. They want to raise taxes on everyone.
You're unwilling to compromise at all.
I'm willing to compromise if we have real cuts. No, if we have real cuts. Because what happens in Washington is that we talk about raising taxes today, and then we talk about cuts 10 years from now. It happened under Reagan, it happened under Bush, and it's what's going to happen to us once again.
John, look, the president put on the table a proposal with $1.2 trillion in cuts, if you include the interest savings, and $1.2 trillion in revenue. They can't get that kind of balance package through a very right-wing caucus in the House of Representatives. The Speaker's going to have to put the good of the country over his Republican caucus.
Congressman Van Hollen, thank you for joining us.
Just remember that
Labrador,
the balance was 3-1, and now we're talking about 1-1.
Well, no,
thank you very much.
True.
Well, we will have a raucous debate when it comes time to the House.
A fact-free zone when it comes to facts.